Chaik stood in the doorway like a statue carved from ice, unable to breathe, unable to blink. His wife, his beautiful, elegant Adana, was swinging a thick brown kiboko with all her strength across his mother's bent back. The leather made a sickening crack against Mama's skin, and the old woman let out a sharp cry that stabbed Chaik straight in the heart. Mama was on her knees in the middle of the cream rug, her blue wrapper slipping off one shoulder, blood already showing in thin lines where the whip had kissed her again and again. Adana's face was twisted with pure hate, her long weave flying as she lifted the whip for another blow. She did not know he was there. Not yet. The living room that cost millions to decorate now looked like a place of torture. The crystal chandelier above them sparkled coldly on Adana's gold bangles as her arm rose and fell. "You useless old woman," she screamed, voice shaking with rage. "You dare tell my friends that I used medicine to trap your son? That I am the reason he ran abroad and left me? Today you will learn respect." Another lash. Mama's body jerked forward, but she kept her head high even through the tears rolling down her wrinkled cheeks. She did not beg. She only whispered, "The God who sees everything is watching you, Adana. He is watching." Adana laughed, a cruel sound that echoed off the marble walls, and raised the kiboko higher than before. Chaik's legs finally moved. He stepped fully into the room, and the click of his Italian leather shoe on the floor made Adana freeze. The whip stopped in midair. Slowly, very slowly, she turned her head. When her eyes met his, the color drained from her face. The proud, angry queen became a small girl caught stealing meat from the pot. The kiboko slipped from her fingers and fell with a soft thud on the rug. For 3 long seconds nobody spoke. Only the big wall clock ticked loudly, counting the end of everything Chaik thought he knew about his marriage. Mama looked up from the floor. When she saw her son standing there in his navy suit, suitcase still outside the door, fresh tears filled her eyes, but these ones carried 5 years of pain. "Chaik, my son," she whispered, voice breaking. Adana found her voice first. She forced a sweet smile that did not reach her eyes and took one step toward him, arms open. "Darling, you're back. Why didn't you tell me? Look at you, you look so handsome." She tried to move closer, but Chaik raised one hand like a wall. His voice, when it came, was quiet but stronger than thunder. "Don't touch me." Adana stopped. The smile fell off her face like a mask. She glanced at the whip on the floor, then at Mama's bleeding back, then back at Chaik. Her lips trembled. She opened her mouth to speak, to explain, to lie. Chaik could already see the story forming in her eyes. Mama attacked her first, Mama was cursing her, Mama was mad. He knew all her tricks. He had believed them for 5 years on WhatsApp calls and long emails. Now he was watching the truth with his own 2 eyes, and it was tearing his chest open. Chaik walked past his wife without looking at her and knelt beside his mother. Gently, he touched the hot, swollen marks on her back. Mema winced but held his hand tight. "I'm sorry, Mama," he said, voice cracking for the first time. "I left you alone with this thing." Behind him Adana gasped, offended. "Chaik, how can you talk to me like that? She started it. She has been poisoning your mind against me for years." Chaik stood up slowly and turned to face the woman he had sent hundreds of millions to, the woman he had built this house for, the woman he thought he loved. His eyes were cold. "Take one more step toward my mother," he said, "and I swear on my father's grave, you will leave this house today without even your handbag." Adana opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time in 7 years, she had nothing to say. Should I continue with chapter 2? Drop a like if your heart is beating fast right now, and comment where you are reading from: Lagos, Abuja, Enugu, London, Canada, anywhere in the world. Let us know. To truly understand how a whip ever landed in Adana's hand and how Chaik's heart could break so completely on that Saturday afternoon, we must travel back 8 years before the day Chaik returned from abroad. Back to 2017. When Chaik Okonkwo was still a 28-year-old man sleeping on a thin mattress in a Face Me I Face You compound in Ajagunle, Lagos. The kind of place where 10 families shared one toilet and the smell of beans and kerosene filled the air every morning. This chapter is about 2 separate lives running on parallel roads that should never have met. Chaik's day started at 4:30 a.m. every single day. He would wake up before the mosquitoes finished their night shift, fold his one good shirt carefully so the iron marks would stay, and tiptoe past his mother who slept on the only bed in the room. Mama, Mrs. Grace Okonkwo, was already awake, kneeling in the corner praying in Igbo with tears on her cheeks. She had been a widow for 15 years. Her husband, a primary school teacher, died of untreated typhoid and left her with Chike and a mountain of hospital bills. Mama sold akara and pap by the bus stop from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., then moved to the market to sell tomatoes until night. Every kobo went into Chike's education. Chike himself was a quiet, stubborn boy who believed books could change destiny. After secondary school, he hawked pure water in traffic to pay for jam lessons. When he finally entered University of Lagos to study mechanical engineering, he washed cars at night in Victoria Island just to pay hostel fees. His classmates called him church boy because he never drank, never smoked, and always carried his small Bible. But inside that gentle body was fire. He wanted to lift his mother out of Ajagunle before she turned 60. That was the only dream he had. Across town, in a different world entirely, Adana Izeme was waking up in her father's 7-bedroom mansion in Banana Island. The house had a swimming pool, a gym, and a driver who opened the gate before the car even reached it. Adana was 24, light-skinned, tall, and already used to people staring. Her father, Chief Izeme, owned half the tank farms in Apapa and 3 private jets. Her mother sat on the board of 2 banks. Money was never discussed in their house because it was simply there, like oxygen. Adana drove a white Mercedes G-Wagon her father bought her the day she graduated from Covenant University with a second-class upper in business administration, a degree she never really studied for because lecturers were scared of her father's phone calls. Adana's arrogance was not hidden, it was polished and displayed like jewelry. In university, if a boy toasted her and she didn't like his shoes, she would laugh loud enough for the whole cafeteria to hear. She once poured yogurt on a girl's head for looking at her wrongly. Her friends called her Queen A, and she loved it. At home, the housemaids trembled when she woke up late because she would scream if her bathwater was not exactly 38 degrees. Her mother would only smile and say, "That is my daughter, she knows her worth." Her father spoiled her rotten because she was the only girl after 3 sons. Meanwhile, in Ajagunle, Mama's health was getting worse. The smoke from the akara frying was eating her lungs, but she would not stop. One rainy night in 2017, Chike came home soaked and found his mother coughing blood into a small bowl. He carried her on his back through flooded streets to the general hospital. The doctor said asthma and high blood pressure, and the bill was 180,000 naira. Chike had only 7,000 in his account. He knelt down in the hospital corridor and cried like a child. That night he promised God that if he gave him one chance, just one, he would never let his mother suffer again. 2 months later, that chance came. Chike had entered an engineering startup competition organized by a big oil company. He and 2 friends built a small machine that could separate pure water from dirty water using only solar power. They won. The prize was 25 million naira seed funding and a chance to present to investors in London. Chike could not believe it. He ran home that night and knelt in front of his mother. "Mama, we are leaving this yard forever," he said. Mama held his face and cried, "My son, the Lord has answered." In Banana Island, Adana's life was parties, Dubai shopping, and Instagram. She had over 80,000 followers and posted every designer bag her father bought. Boys fell over themselves, but she wanted someone who could match her level or, even better, raise it. She dated a senator's son for a while, then a musician, then the son of a governor. All of them bored her. She wanted someone who did not worship her because of her father's money, someone who had his own shine. She just didn't know that person was frying akara in Ajagunle only a few years earlier. One Sunday in church, Mema pulled Chike aside after service. "My son," she said, "now that money is coming, women will follow. Be careful. Any woman who cannot greet me with 2 knees on the ground, do not bring her to this house." Chike laughed and promised. He had no girlfriend yet, his heart was too full of gratitude and plans. He was already getting calls from London, already designing the machine that would make him millions. Success was coming fast, like Lagos rain. Adana, on the other hand, was getting tired. She wanted marriage, but not to just any rich boy. She wanted the kind of wedding that would break the internet. She told her friends, "The day I marry, it will be the talk of Lagos for years." Her mother was already showing her photographs of eligible sons of oil magnates and politicians. Adana would look at the pictures, hiss, and say, "These ones are mummy's boys. I want a real man." She did not know that the real man she would one day call husband was at that very moment in a small room in Ajigunle, counting every kobo to buy his mother asthma medicine. In 2018, Chike's company took off. The water machine was installed in villages, then schools, then IDP camps. Foreign investors poured money. By the end of that year, Chike Okonkwo was on the cover of a popular magazine as one of Africa's brightest young entrepreneurs. Mama finally moved to a 3-bedroom flat in Ikeja GRA. She still cooked for Chike every Sunday and still knelt to pray for him every night. She kept warning him, "Money brings snakes in human skin. Open your eyes." Adana saw that magazine cover. She was in a salon in 6 when her friend showed it to her. "This Chike guy is fine, oh, and he is single," her friend teased. Adana looked at the serious face in the picture and smiled small. "Not bad," she said. "Let me see what he is about." She did not know that in a few months, their two worlds would crash together in the most dangerous way, and that, for now, is where their separate lives stood, one rising from dust with a mother's prayers on his back, the other sitting on gold with pride in her heart. Two roads that should never have crossed. The year was now 2019, and Chike Okonkwo's name was no longer only in small magazines. Forbes Africa had put him on the cover with the headline, "The Quiet Billionaire, How a Boy from Ajigunle Built a Water Empire." His company, Pureflow Solutions, had installed water systems in 32 countries. Contracts from the United Nations, from Dubai, from the Nigerian government poured in like rain. By 31, Chike's personal net worth had crossed 12 billion naira, and it was still climbing. He bought his mother a beautiful 5-bedroom duplex in Ikoyi, the same area where the richest Lagos families lived. Mema cried the day the keys were handed over. She walked from room to room touching the walls, afraid it was a dream. Chike himself moved into a bigger house 2 streets away, a modern grey mansion with glass walls and a rooftop garden. He still dressed simply, plain shirts, no jewelry except a small silver watch his mother gave him when he graduated. People said he was too quiet for a billionaire. He did not attend parties, did not chase women on Instagram, did not buy fleets of cars. He drove one black Range Rover and gave the rest of his money to scholarships for children from poor homes. Every Sunday he carried food to Ajigunle and sat on small benches eating with old neighbors. Mema would smile and tell her prayer partners, "My son has not forgotten where God picked him from." Adana, at 26, was now the unofficial princess of Lagos high society. Her Instagram had jumped to 350,000 followers. She launched a small luxury handbag line called A by Adana, and every bag sold out in minutes because celebrities carried them. Her father kept pushing her to marry one of his business associate sons, but Adana always found something wrong. Too short, too loud, too desperate. She wanted a man who did not need her father's money, a man who could look her in the eye and not tremble. She told her friends, "I will know him when I see him. He will not worship me, he will walk beside me." Her friends laughed and said she was watching too many Hollywood films. Their first meeting happened by pure chance at Eco Hotel during a charity gala for clean water in the north. Chike was the guest of honor. He wore a simple dark suit and spoke for only 7 minutes, promising to build 1,000 boreholes. The crowd stood and clapped for a long time. Adana was there because her father was one of the sponsors. She sat at the high table in a gold dress that caught every light in the hall. When Chike finished speaking, the MC called for a photograph with the top donors. Adana's father pulled her up. "Come and stand beside the young man," he said. That was the first time their eyes locked. Chike looked at her and smiled politely. Adana looked at him and felt something shift inside her chest. He was taller than she expected, darker, with calm eyes that did not rush to every part of her body like other men. When the photographer said, "Smile," Chike turned to her and asked quietly, "Are you comfortable? The lights are very bright." It was such a small question, but no man had ever asked her that at an event. She smiled for real, not the Instagram smile. After the photo, her father introduced them properly. Chaik Okonkwo, meet my daughter Adana. Chaik shook her hand gently and said, "It is nice to meet you, Adana. Thank you for supporting the work." Then he walked away to speak to an old woman in Ankara who had lost her house to flooding. Adana watched him the whole night. She saw how people rushed to greet him and how he greeted everyone the same, politely, quietly, no difference between the governor and the waitress carrying trays. When it was time to leave, she found herself standing near the door. Chaik was helping his mother into a car. Mama wore a simple lace blouse and wrapper, no designer bag, no heavy makeup, yet she carried herself like a queen. Adana heard her tell Chaik, "My son, drive carefully and remember to call Mama Ngozi tomorrow." Chaik answered, "Yes Mama," and opened the door for her with 2 hands. Something about that scene made Adana's throat tight. 2 weeks later, Adana's father invited Chaik to the house for dinner to discuss possible partnership. Chief Izemeh wanted Pureflow to handle all the water needs for his tank farms. Chaik came alone, no entourage, no briefcase, just a small flash drive with proposals. Adana dressed carefully that night, simple white dress, small earrings, light makeup. She greeted him at the door herself. When Chaik stepped in, he removed his shoes and greeted her parents properly, kneeling slightly for her mother. Adana's father was impressed. Her mother whispered, "This one has home training." During dinner, Adana sat quietly and listened while Chaik explained his work. When he talked about children drinking clean water for the first time, his eyes shone. Adana had never heard a man speak like that. After dinner, her father took Chaik to the study to talk business. Adana carried a tray of fruit to them. When she entered, Chaik stood up immediately. "Thank you," he said, taking the tray himself. "You didn't have to do this." Her father laughed and said, "That is how Adana is, she likes to serve important guests." Adana felt her cheeks grow warm. For the first time in years, she felt shy. Later, when Chaik was leaving, she walked him to his car. The night was cool. "I enjoyed listening to you tonight," she said softly. Chaik smiled. "And I enjoyed your company. You ask very good questions." He entered his car and drove off without asking for her number. Adana stood there for a long time. The next day, Adana did something she had never done. She opened Instagram, searched for Chaik's handle, he had only 40,000 followers and posted mostly about water projects, and sent him a direct message, "Thank you for coming to the house. I learned a lot." Chaik replied 2 hours later, "Thank you, Adana. I hope we can talk again." That was the beginning. They started chatting every day. Adana woke up to his good morning messages and slept to his good night prayers. He never sent shirtless pictures, never asked for nudes, never used dirty words. He asked about her day, her dreams, her handbag line. When she complained that a supplier cheated her, he listened for 1 hour without interrupting. Adana was careful. She did not want him to see the rude side everyone else knew. With Chaik, she spoke softly, laughed gently, apologized when she was late replying. She told her friends, "He is different. I don't want to scatter it." When Chaik sent her flowers for the first time, simple white roses, not the usual red, her driver carried them in and the whole house smelled sweet. Her mother asked, "Who is sending you ordinary roses?" Adana hugged the flowers and said, "Someone who sees me." Chaik, on his own side, was falling slowly. He liked that Adana was intelligent, that she had her own business, that she did not ask him for money the way other girls did. When she told him her father was Chief Izem, he only said, "He is a good man. I respect how hard he worked." He did not act impressed or scared. Mama noticed her son smiling at his phone more often. One night she asked, "Chaik, who is making you smile like this?" He showed her Adana's picture. Mama looked long and hard, then said quietly, "She is very fine but beauty is not everything. Watch and pray." Chaik laughed and said, "Mama, we are just friends." But they were becoming more than friends, and neither of them knew that the same woman who was now typing "I miss you" with heart emojis was the same person who, years later, would raise a kiboko against the same mother who was warning her son to watch and pray. By the end of 2019, Chaik and Adana were talking from morning till night. He would be in Abuja for meetings and still find time to call her twice a day. She would be at photo shoots for her handbag line and still reply to every message within minutes. Chike had never felt this way before. Adana made him laugh with the way she described Lagos traffic or the small jokes she sent. One night in December, after a long flight from Dubai, he landed at the private wing of Murtala Mohammed Airport and did something he had never done. He drove straight to her house at 11 p.m. without telling her. When the gateman opened, Adana ran out in her pajamas, hair in a rough bun, and jumped into his arms right there in the compound. That was the night he finally said the words. They were sitting in her father's garden under the stars, sharing one bowl of pepper soup the cook brought. Chike put the spoon down, took her hand, and looked straight into her eyes. Adana, I have never said this to any woman before. I like you. I more than like you. I think about you when I wake up, when I work, when I pray. I want you to be mine, properly. Will you be my girlfriend? Adana's eyes filled with tears. She nodded before he even finished. Yes, Chike. Yes, 1,000 times. They kissed for the first time that night, soft and slow, like people who had waited too long. Dating Adana was sweet in ways Chike never imagined. She flew to London to surprise him during a conference, booked the room next to his, and left notes under his door every morning. He took her to Dubai and they walked the old souk holding hands, eating shawarma from the same plate. On Valentine's Day 2020, he filled her entire bedroom with red and white balloons while she was at the spa. When she opened the door and saw, "Will you be mine forever?" written in roses on the floor, she screamed so loud the house girls came running. She posted only one picture that day, a close-up of their hands wearing matching simple gold rings, and captioned it, he asked. I said yes to dating him. But even in those early months, there were small signs, tiny red flags that Chike saw but pushed away. Once, they were driving on 3rd Mainland Bridge and a Danfo scratched the side of his Range Rover. The driver came down begging. Adana rolled down her window and shouted, "Do you know how much this car costs? Idiot! You will pay for this." She called her father's police escort to come and arrest the man. Chike calmed her down and told the driver to go. Later he said gently, "Let's not spoil our day because of small thing." She smiled sweetly and said, "You are too kind, baby. That is why I love you." He kissed her forehead and forgot about it. Another time, they went to a restaurant in Victoria Island. The waiter brought Adana's food late. She looked at the plate, looked at the boy, and poured the entire bowl of egusi soup on the floor. "Is this how you treat customers? Bring the manager," she shouted. People turned to look. The poor boy was shaking. Chike quietly called the manager, paid for everything, gave the waiter 10,000 naira from his pocket, and took Adana out. In the car she cried and said, "I just hate when people disrespect us because they think we are like them." Chike held her and said, "It's okay, my love. Next time we will go somewhere better." He told himself she was only protecting their image. 6 months into dating, Chike knew he wanted to marry her. He designed a ring himself, simple platinum band with one perfect diamond, not too big, because he knew Adana already had bigger ones. He proposed on a yacht in Lagos Lagoon at sunset. He went on one knee, the water sparkling behind him, and said, "Adana Ezen, you have brought light into my life. Marry me. Let us build a home together." She screamed, cried, posted it everywhere, and said yes before he even opened the ring box. That night Lagos Twitter almost broke from the congratulations. Adana took him to see her parents formally the next weekend. Chief Izema was impressed that Chike came with only his uncle and one elder, no long convoy, no showing off. They prayed, drank palm wine, and the father gave his blessing immediately. "My daughter has chosen well," he said. Adana's mother pulled Chike aside and said, "Take care of my princess O. She is my only girl." Chike promised he would spoil her more than they ever did. Everyone laughed. It was easy. The hard part came when Chike took Adana to see Mama. He had prepared Mama for weeks, showed her pictures, told her how kind Adana was. The day they went, Adana wore a simple Ankara gown, no weave, small earrings, and carried a basket of fruits. She knelt down with 2 knees when she greeted Mama and said all the right words. "Mama, good afternoon, Ma. God bless you for raising a good son." Mama answered politely but her eyes were sharp. They ate jollof rice and chicken. Adana helped clear the table and even washed some plates. Mama watched everything quietly. Later, when Adana went to the restroom, Mama pulled Chaik to the kitchen. "My son," she said in Igbo, "this girl is beautiful, yes. She has manners today, yes. But something in my spirit does not sit well. She looks at people like she is better than them. I saw how she looked at the house girl when the girl dropped water on the table. That small hiss she hissed. Be careful." Chaik laughed and hugged his mother. "Mama, you worry too much. She is only used to a certain life. I will teach her. She loves me." Mama shook her head. "Love is not enough when pride lives in the heart." Chaik did not listen. He told himself Mama was just being protective because he was her only child. He told himself Adana was changing because of him. He told himself many things. 3 months later, in December 2020, they had a wedding that truly broke the internet. 1,200 guests, for outfit changes for the bride, Davido performed. The cake was taller than most people. Mema sat in front looking beautiful in gold lace, smiling for the cameras, but her eyes were not smiling. When the MC asked if anyone had any reason they should not be joined, Mema kept quiet. She danced, she sprayed money, she blessed them. But in her heart she had already started praying serious prayers. That night, after the wedding, Chaik carried his new wife into the bridal suite at Eco Hotel. Adana looked at him with tears in her eyes and said, "I am now Mrs. Adana Okonkwo. I will make you the happiest man in the world." Chaik kissed her and believed every word. He did not know that the same lips promising happiness would one day call his mother a witch. He did not know that the hands he was holding would one day hold a kiboko. But that was still years away. For now, they were in love, and the whole of Lagos was celebrating the union of the quiet billionaire and the island princess. The first 3 weeks of marriage were like honeymoon that refused to end. Chaik carried Adana from the bedroom to the kitchen every morning just to make her laugh. They cooked together at 2 a.m. when jet lag kept them awake, dancing to old Sunny Aid songs while jollof burned small on the cooker. Adana wore his big t-shirts around the house and called him "my husband," in the sweetest voice Lagos had ever heard. Chaik would come back from site visits and find her waiting at the gate with cold juice and a kiss. They made love in every room of the new Ikoyi mansion, laughing like teenagers when the security man almost caught them in the swimming pool. Even the house girls smiled and said, "Madam and Oga are too sweet." Mama had moved into the boys' quarters at the back of the compound because her asthma was getting worse and Chaik did not want her staying alone in her own duplex 2 streets away. The first week, everything was fine. Adana carried food to Mama every evening, knelt to greet her, asked about her drugs. Mama would pat her hand and say, "Thank you, my daughter." Chaik watched them and felt peace in his spirit. He told himself, "See? Mama was just afraid. Adana has changed." Then the 4th week came. Small things first. Adana woke up one morning and shouted at the cook for putting onions in her eggs when she had said no onions the night before. The cook, a quiet woman from Kotona, started crying. Chaik came down and found Adana standing over her with arms folded. "Baby, she's human," he said gently. Adana rolled her eyes. "Human? She wants to kill me with onions? Please. Sack her if she can't follow simple instruction." Chaik paid the cook extra and begged her to stay. That night he told Adana, "Let's be patient with staff. They are not slaves." Adana kissed him and said, "You're too soft, but I love you like that." He smiled and forgot. The 5th week, the mask slipped more. They had guests, some of Chaik's old university friends who now worked with him. One of them, Emma, mistakenly used Adana's special gold-rimmed glass for Zobo. Adana walked in, saw it, and snatched the glass from his hand. "Do you know how much this set costs? Are you mad?" The whole room went quiet. Emma apologized 10 times. Chaik pulled Adana to the kitchen and said, "That was my friend from Unilago. The one who gave me his notes when I had malaria." Adana hissed. "Then tell your friend to have respect in my house." Chaik rubbed her back and said, "Okay, I will talk to him. Just calm down." He went back and apologized on her behalf. Emma never visited again. Mama saw everything. One evening she called Chaik to her quarters. "My son, this girl you married, her real face is coming out small. Yesterday she told the maid that if the girl sweeps the compound again the way she did, she will send her back to village with slap. The girl was crying in the store. Chaik sighed. Mema, marriage is new to her, Mema. She's learning how to run a big house. Give her time. Mema looked at him long and hard. Time will not teach pride to bow, Chaik. Only suffering teaches pride. He hugged her and said, I will talk to her. Don't worry. But he didn't talk. He didn't want to spoil the sweetness. By the 3rd month, Adana had stopped pretending with Mema completely. She would pass Mema in the corridor and not greet. If Mema was sitting in the main living room watching African Magic, Adana would walk in and change the channel without a say. This old people film is too noisy. Mema would stand up quietly and go to her quarters. When Mema cooked bitterleaf soup the way Chaik liked it, Adana would pour it away and say, who still eats this village food in 2021? Then she would order pizza and eat alone upstairs. The house girls started running to Mema for protection because Adana had started slapping them for small mistakes. Every time Mema complained, Chaik had an excuse. She's stressed with the handbag line. She's trying to get pregnant, it's affecting her mood. She didn't mean it like that. One night Mema showed Chaik a bruise on her arm where Adana had pushed her aside while rushing out. She said I was blocking her way like a goat, Mema said, tears in her eyes. Chaik's chest hurt, but he still went upstairs and begged Adana to apologize. Adana cried and said Mema was lying to turn him against her. They made love that night and Chaik told himself everything would be fine. 2021 turned to 2022. Big contracts came from Saudi Arabia and America. Chaik started traveling more, 2 weeks here, 1 month there. Each time he was away, Adana's true colors grew bolder. She turned the main house into her personal palace. Mema was confined to the boys' quarters like a visitor. Adana brought her friends for parties that lasted till morning, music shaking the whole compound while Mema covered her ears with pillow. When Chaik called and Mema complained, Adana would take the phone and cry, your mother hates me. She reports everything I do. Chaik would shout at Mema and beg Adana. Mema stopped complaining. She only prayed. By 2023, Chaik was spending more time abroad than in Nigeria. The marriage was no longer sweet, but he knew it, but he was too busy, too ashamed to admit he had made a mistake. He sent money, hundreds of millions every month. Adana built a new wing for her walk-in closet, bought 3 new cars, traveled to Maldives with friends while Mema coughed alone in the boys' quarters. Chaik told himself, when I finish this Dubai project, I will come home and fix everything. The Dubai project turned to Saudi, then London, then America. COVID came, borders closed, projects delayed. 5 years passed like a bad dream. Chaik spoke to Adana every day on video. She always looked beautiful, always cried about how lonely she was, how Mema was making her life hell. Chaik believed her. He shouted at Mema on the phone more times than he could count. Mema stopped picking his calls sometimes. She only sent voice notes, my son, come home. Things are not well. Then one Saturday in November 2025, Chaik finished the last signing in London. He did not tell anyone he was coming. He wanted to surprise them, bring gifts, carry his wife, hug his mother, fix everything at last. He landed in Lagos, drove himself from the airport in a rented car so nobody would know. He walked quietly into the house he had not entered in 5 whole years, and met his wife flogging his mother like an animal. The kiboko was still hanging in the air. Mema was bleeding on the rug. Adana's mouth was open in shock. Chaik's voice shook the whole house. Adana, what have you done? What do you think Chaik should do to this wife right now? Should he forgive her because of love? Should he send her out the same day? Should he call police? Or something even more painful? Comment divorce or forgive or your own idea, then subscribe and turn on the notification bell and wait for part 2. You don't want to miss how this story ends.